Hello, good evening, welcome. Just gone 7 o'clock here in Moscow. You're watching RT International. Now, we start this hour with Paris because protests against government-imposed fuel hikes that have been gripping French cities throughout the week have swept across Paris today. And there have been clashes with police too, with tear gas and water cannons used. RT Charlotte Dubinsky has been there covering the story from the start.
Here on the Champs-Élysées, as you can see, there's a rally gathering behind me, and there is a row of police vehicles there. Those police vehicles trying to stop the protesters from going further down the Champs-Élysées. Well, we're here outside the street to the entrance of the Élysée Palace. As you can see, tear gas has been fired by the police. That's as the protesters were trying to enter into that street to get closer to the Élysée Palace. Tear gas keeps being shot at the protesters. They keep responding by throwing projectiles towards the security forces. The security forces have also now started using 2 water cannons. As you can see, the water cannons are trying to push down this barrier that's been made by the protesters. They are throwing massive rocks towards the police, essentially picking up what looks like to be the stones from the road and throwing it towards them. I'm having a bit of difficulty opening my eyes right now, and that's because we've just been in the midst of all of this tear gas. As you can see, it makes your eyes red. It's really hard to open them, and at the moment they are just burning uncontrollably. The police are coming. We're having to move now because we're all being pushed up the streets into the tear gas and into the protesters. It really is absolutely crazy here on the streets of Paris. The protesters throwing projectiles, literally taking up some of the stones from the ground, throwing them at the police. They've also been throwing trees, cabinets, literally anything that they can get their hands on. Look at this here. They've overturned some sort of truck as a barricade, clawing at our throats. This is 8 days of protests now, and it looks like these protesters are not giving up here. Complete chaos here on the streets of Paris as the Gilets jaunes take over the Champs-Élysées. You can see some of the protesters have now barricaded themselves in this part of the Champs-Élysées. There's tear gas that looks like it's being fired up towards the protesters. They're trying to make as much noise as possible, possibly to make themselves heard in the Élysée Palace, which is about 150 meters away from where we are. This is a road just off the Arc de Triomphe, and as you can see here, we've got some of the scooters. They've become infamous in Paris of late. They're burning here. This is one of the barricades that have been put in place. We're actually being shouted at by a protester right now telling us to not show people's faces, and that's because there has been suggestion that this movement has been hijacked by radicalised individuals from the left and from the right, and there were warnings ahead of this protest in Paris that it was going to get hot, and it seems that those warnings are Absolutely right. It was meant to start as fuel protests and protests against the cost of living and living standards here in France, but it just seems that people now are purely angry at the situation and the fact that their president has still refused to meet them to discuss the problems in this country. Things feeling a lot calmer here than they have throughout the last few hours in Paris. The suggestion is that 8,000 people are protesting in Paris today as part of this yellow vest movement. Well, here on the Champs-Élysées, we're still hearing what sounds like to be either sound grenades or tear gas being released. We know, and you can see the flashing lights of the police. The police and the security services are surrounding all of the areas, of course, trying to keep some sort of control on this protest.